for surprise, if I calculate how old I am, it matches. It matches because I was 15 years old when I first got to know and went to see the first production of Meet Joe Barber. And it's now 25 years that this production, the characters and the people behind it have become this institution and this icon in not only the Cape Town theatre space, but they've changed the way we talk. They've changed the way we say hello to each other in many, many parts of Cape Town. They've changed the way we talk about politics. They've changed the way we talk about haircuts. And the iconic comedy theatre production Joe Barber turns 25 this year. And to mark the silver anniversary, the creators will be putting on a new series of live performances at the Grand Arena at Grand West in October. It follows, of course, if you do not know, but of course you know, follows the adventures, the misadventures, and the anecdotes of Boeta's Joe, Khamat, there's Washila, all around the local barbershop, and features all the characters that we know and love. Maybe not so much. Ochi. No, I love Ochi very, very much. But, of course, the show created by the pen and the hand and the brain of Oscar Petersen and David Isaacs, and they reunite again for the 25th anniversary of Joe Barber. Do you know, I was 15 years old because, and the way I got tickets, I was at high school, Oscar Petersen. I was at high school, and
I'm just chuckling softly in the background here because we're busy making such grandeur announcements about it.
But
okay.
I was 15 years old, and someone who was in my class, a mate of mine, her sister actually dated the show's original director, Heinrich.
Yes,
Eisenhower.
yes.
And it is through him that we got tickets sent, and all of a sudden, for the first time, 25 years ago, I was 15 years old, I got to see Joe Barber, and it has been this institution in Cape Town theatre ever since.
Wow, Lister. What can I say? I mean, the one thing I can say is I'm beginning to feel my age when people say things like you just did. But yeah, I mean, what a surprise to us. I mean, it surprises us every single day when we just, stumble on that thinking of how did we get here? How did we get here? What's going on with us in our community that we could survive a show for this long? And I mean, I still don't have the complete answer for that, but surely there's a flame inside. I think both myself and David that keeps burning, and that's got to do with how we grew up and the people that influenced our minds, influenced how we think and see the world. Yeah. And these are our parents, grandparents, and all the other influences from education and so forth and so on. And it's purely South African, it's purely Cape Flats.
But these are just the archetypes that are there in our lives, but the world changes, and how our archetypes, whether it be the auntie who's standing at the washing line, whether it's the man on the corner, whether it's the gentleman in the barbershop, they react to a world that has changed, and the world has changed over the last 25 years.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and this is what we're trying to embrace here with the change, with all these changes that have gone on. Most of the changes that we're talking about are external or environmental changes, that influences how slowly our changes take over inside of us. And so yes, the change we don't necessarily observe immediately. You always get to a point and you turn back and go, oh, look where I'm now. Oh, okay, so these are the changes that have happened. And so myself and David are always surprised when we go, is it really this far? Are these really the things we're thinking? We were just talking the other day about, for instance, attention spans and what has influenced that and how we now have to adjust to that as well. Just because of all the external or it's not part of our lives. I don't even know if we can call it external or internal changes, but technology has certainly played a huge role.
David Isaacs, thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk about attention spans quickly. I recently, well, it wasn't recent, it was last year, and I watched The Life and Times of Michael Kay. It was a 3 hour long production. And what has happened since then and before I went back, before then was COVID and the lockdown. So I did not participate in theatre much 2019. And what have we gotten accustomed to in those 4 years? It's our phones, it's the TikToks, it's the YouTube videos, it's the Reels. How do you then put on a show? Of course, it's a show that is based on humor, and people come for the humor, and people come to be entertained. But have you had to adapt a show that takes into consideration, gosh, a younger audience has a 45-minute attention span at tops, unless you're going to go bigger and bigger and bigger. It's so very difficult to hold people's attention, even with something that they enjoy.
Yeah, well, we a couple of years, we started about 15 years ago, started using multimedia already in our shows, which was kind of scary for us to be on stage live and then use the big screens and that. So we've kind of been aware of the technological advances and that kind of thing, and tried to incorporate. But theatre remains theatre. It's there's a fundamental thing. Action that happens is live people on stage and a live audience, and that interaction that. So
there is also one trick that I know. It's not a trick; it's a reality that keeps that. It doesn't matter how short our attention spans are and how the media has influenced that, but tension has its own.
Yeah.
It has its own brain, and if you don't have tension to keep things going, you can't engage people for long enough.
Let me talk about tension in some of the work other work that you do, Oscar. You're also a writer, and you write on many of the serialized shows on TV at the moment. Stories that can go on for years and years, from one story to another. How has that made you re-look at how to write, particularly for TV or even for stage, writing a serialized soap opera where every week there needs to be a new tension or conflict to keep an audience going?
Yeah, so I'm not a storyliner. I'm not, and I don't write for television. Although I'm going to advisory capacity if ever I do. So the storyliners are in charge of what are the things that are going to fit together to create tension, and then the writers follow through with that. And then there's somebody, the head writer, that sits and sees that the overarch of all of these things work out. So it's quite a measured thing, actually, inside of good writing groups to have that going. And then, of course, it also depends on how the directors, which David has got a lot of experience, has built a large amount of experience up in the short space of time, knows all about how to keep that going. So I suppose what we've always been fairly good at was keeping a certain amount of attention in the show to sort of bypass that lack of attention that we gotten used to because of social media.
yeah.
Well, the show that has such an enormous cultural currency, particularly in Cape Town, has there ever been a worry from the two of you that we become these characters, and no matter where we go, we are these characters? I must admit, Oscar, to me, you are Dial September. And David, to me, you are Denver from Fishy Fashions. Yes, there's the characters of Buta Joe and Kamat, but have you often worried that with a show that now has a 25-year longevity, people see us as Buta Joe, Buta Kamat, and not as Oscar and David, who does so many other different things?
Well, no, it doesn't really. Because at the end of the day, the people who employ us to do things are able to see past that. And those are luckily the people. You see, it's not the public that give us work, it's the producers that do. Okay. So the public can enjoy us, and they can say and they can angle things in the way that they want to. But at the end of the day, the guys who want to produce other films understand how that works. So they're the ones that will employ us, and so it doesn't affect us in that kind of way. So it's actually kind of a blessing in disguise to be known for something, especially for something that we were responsible for creating in the first place. So it's a kind of a compliment. I mean, when we are taking selfies, I've had to learn to use a couple of tricks if I was in a rush or something. Often David knows already, especially the Pero side. If you're walking in a mall and people stop you, I always say, guys, you can take a picture, but David Isaacs is there in Pep stores. It's all fun. It's a lot of fun. It's this thing creates joy.
Yeah, I read it somewhere on good collaborations, and I forget which was the it was entertainers, but it was a conversation on good collaboration. Penn and Teller, the magicians.
Yes.
And very surprised to read that while Penn and Teller have worked with each other from a very, very young age, they say our relationship is business and show business. We found out that we might not be the best of friends, but we are the best of creators together. So working, the two of you working together professionally on Joe Barber for the last 25 years. I don't know, maybe there can be like a little hold hands moment. Are you guys best friends, or are you simply just best collaborators?
We've gone through all the motions a relationship can go through. And for the time that we spent also, if you look at any marriage and people talk about silver anniversary and all the things that they can reflect on and go back to, I think David and myself have gone through all of that. And it's quite significant to also call it something silver anniversary, there's a preciousness about it. A preciousness, not just about the relationship itself, but also the time that have gone past. And then, gold, I think, is something that comes a lot later. But I think what has happened through the years is we've realized one core thing, and that is the thing that that we need each other as people, as friends, and that we've created something that is not just, it's almost like we have a responsibility to it. And it started around 2010, between 2010 and 2014, we realized this is bigger than us. So, and it is kind of a thing that we need to keep going. Not just the show, but us as people, because we understand. There's nobody else that is in my life that understand me better than David does in terms of creativity.
Right. Yeah. Because there was a time that Oscar from Ocean View lived with you and your family in Parkwood.
Yeah. That's kind of the start of this. I mean, I always see Joe Barber as an extension of our relationship. Just the characters, the whole world around it, because it's just us.
And his father inspired it.
Yeah, my dad was very big on us creating our own work at the time. And because we were friends, we hung out and we did things, hung out at theatre events and places all over Dom Pedro's, and that kind of just extended into like the characters that we make gat of people and that kind of thing, and then with the theatre background from UCT and that kind, we felt that it needs to come together at some point. The stuff that we know, all these technical aspects of theatre, and we needed to bring that to, and we're theatre nerds. I mean, that's what I think the glue for us. We'll get together and talk for 3 hours on one aspect of theatre.
You know what, David and Oscar, I wish I could have you for 3 hours, but commercial radio, running out of time. But I must leave you with this. The dates are the 14th, the 15th, the 18th, and 19th of October at the Grand Arena, Grand West. You can get your tickets at ticketmaster.co.za. It starts at 195 Rand each. It's Joe Barber, the 25th anniversary. I'm going to be there like I was 25 years ago.
Wow,
as a 15-year-old.
Awesome, Robin.